Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our wrestling podcast. So, without further ado, today's topic, the boys review WCW Spring Stampede 94. And don't forget, you can listen to our wrestling podcast across all major platforms, including SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, and Apple Podcast.
Sounds good, cuz. How you doing over there, you piece of shit?
Welcome to the O.W.P. This is our wrestling podcast. This is Dave along with Jess.
Hi, David.
Cuz
Jones here.
and Craig.
This is the sound of my voice.
Bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. And now on to our topic today, Spring Stampede 94. Hit us up on Instagram at O.W.P 2019. Click on Linktree. You can find us on several platforms, including Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. What's going on, guys?
Hello, David.
Hello. How we doing?
We're doing all right. We're doing good.
What the fuck are we doing Spring Stampede for?
You know...
Well, it's probably because we've been doing topics, and it's the month of Spring Stampede, so we're staying on topic. So, there you go.
We're doing it because, lately we've been on kind of a string with reviewing pay-per-views. At first, we kind of didn't really do that. And the last couple we've done have been pretty fun. So why not? We're going to go back in time to 1994, WCW Spring Stampede, Dave. Can I say it was on April 17th, 1994. It was in Chicago at the Rosemont Horizon. They had 12,000 fucking fans in this building, I read on my research. It's fucking crazy. It's a really good crowd for WCW at this point.
For 94 especially, yeah.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in this building.
In this building?
And there's this is the only two more shows before like the Hogan era officially begun, right? Like this was kind of the end of the
and a lot of
pre-Hogan WCW.
And we'll talk. Well, I guess we can just dive right into it. Bischoff you could tell Bischoff's handprints on a lot of stuff. His big thing when he became executive producer in 93, before he got executive vice president, was he really wanted to clean up their production and make them a lot more streamlined. Just, put some more lights in the arena and shift all the crowd.
Light it up, right?
Yeah, light it up, shift the crowd over to the hard camera side. So you're not seeing empty seats. You just put all the crowd in one area and then shoot that, make it look full. If it's not full on this one, I think the capacity of this building was like 16,000. So they had 12,000 here. I'm sure they papered it, but I mean, whatever, like 12,000 people, you could work with that, whether you scoot them to one side or whatever, you could work with that. So Bischoff did a really good job here. And this whole show was very well lit. It looked like a professional show. It didn't look like a second-rate show to WWF. That's one of the first things I noticed when I started watching it was this is just a super clear presentation. It looked really nice.
From the thunder of golden hooves, it's time to lock horns and let Spring Stampede begin. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat battle for the WCW World Title. Sting and Ravishing Rick Rude for the WCW International Title, and more.
Yeah, and not to mention, briefly before we get into the actual card and everything else, you got some decent on-screen personnel here. So here's your commentators, by the way. You got Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan. Okay. But then, you want an interviewer? Let's go with Gene Okerlund and Jesse, the Body Ventura. Exactly. You got Gary Michael Capetta to ring announce and Michael Buffer for the main events. And, a little somebody like by the name of Nick Patrick doing some ref work. That's a pretty star-studded support team that's gonna light this show up for the people that are actually putting on the performance. So it's very underrated.
Yeah, you know who else was there? He was the WCW World, the WCW United States Champion, Stunning Steve.
You didn't even like him then, cuz. Get the fuck out of here with that. Don't even try to pretend he's my best friend.
And I know his history now. Yeah,
he's not Stone Cold here.
I know he's not Stone Cold here.
I'm sure you looked at him in his hair and you're like, that guy's going to be the greatest.
Well, yeah.
Do you remember this event, cuz at 9 years old? Because we were significantly older than, not significantly, but we were older.
No, I didn't watch it live, of course, but, obviously from tonight, watching it on the network to review it, and then just in the past, and of course, because I follow Steve Austin, so I go back and watch a lot of his old stuff. Stunning Steve, right, Dave?
So thank you, Greg, for proving Cuz to be a goddamn liar about how he thought Stunning Steve was the greatest.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Well, because he is now. Out of everyone on that card, he is the greatest of all time. So you can shut it.
Simply, not true.
Oh, really? Oh, it is actually.
So yeah. Like
better than Flair, better than Angle.
Craig was mentioning earlier, this is really close to that, but not quite the Hogan era yet. So they just came off the whole Flair and Vader thing, Starrcade. Flair wins the WCW Heavyweight Championship. Vader's still kind of at the top of the card here. Flair had been champion for a couple of months at this point, a little more than a couple of months. So yeah, he basically there had been weak rumors. I mean, there was no internet technically back here and to spread rumors, but there was, if you call the hotline, they had started to mention old Hogan's name here and there because he was not with WWF. He left WWF almost a year before in '93, so he was a free agent here, and so people were starting to clamor a little bit. So like Craig says, it was sort of like this odd mid-between. The Hogan era hadn't hit yet, but you could tell that Bischoff was doing his work and his vision was coming to fruition. He was making everything look really nice. And
do you think that crowd base was set on that? Like people were starting to hear that on the hotline about
I don't know how
someone coming.
I don't know what a reach that would have though. I don't really know how many people called the hotline. Like, I mean, I know they made a lot of money off it when you talk to like people on their podcast now. Like people say that Gene Okerlund cleaned up.
Oh yeah, because he had a big chunk of it. Right?
Yeah.
How much was it per minute again? I can't remember.
Was it like?
I think it was a $2.50 the first minute, then like 70 cents or $89 a minute after.
Damn, dude! Back in those days, that's a lot of money.
So that's what Mean Gene would just go very slowly.
That'd be like $5 a minute right now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the WC.
Come on!
Hurry! Big news concerning a major star coming in.
What, Mom? I'm not calling.
Mom, no, I'm talking to my friend. No,
Aaron Neville.
Yeah, it would just be like
scheduled.
He would guide you into it. A big superstar.
America.
The Smoking Guns may not sign their WWF contract. I'm like, no, not the Smoking Guns.
Just get to the good stuff.
Someone else.
On the hotline. And I've got it all right here. Call the biggest names in wrestling on the WCW hotline. I'm going to tell you things you won't believe. What we can't say on TV, you can hear on the hotline. Call right now, the WCW hotline, 1-900-909-9900.
So I'm going to jump right into this because I have had no reason to look up any information on Spring Stampede 94 until we started prepping for the show. Can I tell you, the fucking dark match on this show is Danny Bonaducci versus Christopher Knight. Let that sink in. Danny Bonaducci he's like the Partridge Family, right? He was like the young redheaded kid on the Partridge Family, very known substance abuser. But he also was really big in this area up in the Chicago area. He was a DJ. He was like a DJ. He was like a radio host. And
oh god.
And they did it for a local thing or whatever. So it was like they hyped it on the local radio and it actually got some big local press. And I was just so shocked to see that. And everybody who wasn't he Peter? Chris McKnight was Peter from Brady Bunch. Yes, Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
So like super odd. And so I went because I saw this and I was like, what the hell? They didn't put a time for the match or anything like that. They just put Danny Bonaducci defeated Christopher Knight in a singles match, in a dark match. So I went on and I read the Wrestling Observer. Dave Meltzer said he wasn't there, but he said people who were writing in said it was so bad that both Christopher and Danny were laughing during spots. Like they were messing up spots and laughing. So it was just a total farce. It was totally ridiculous. And like fans started to boo a little bit. And like, yeah, it was just totally terrible. I just thought that was hilarious that was a dark match here. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. Way to blow all your momentum on just a shitty like DJ stunt and they're mocking the entire business.
Yeah. Thank God it wasn't on television.
Well done.
You know, it wasn't televised or anything, but man, like I just thought that was so funny. I was doing the research and I'm like, does that say Danny Bonaducci and Christopher Knight? What are we doing here? It's so great. So
and then they went 60 minutes.
It was an Iron Man match.
That's not true. Yeah,
it was close. It was 5 falls to 4, an Iron Man match. So I'll get to the opening match here. Johnny B. Bad defeated Diamond Dallas Page with the Diamond Doll, who we know as Kimberly, in the first match, in the opening match. No title on the line. 5 minutes and 55 seconds, which seemed just about right for them. Look, the crowd was hot. First of all, like I mean, seeing 12,000 people in a WCW audience was something new here, and man, the crowd was into it. It's in Chicago, so what do you expect? But Chicago is really quick to shit on things too if they don't like it. Johnny B. Bad had people on their feet, and I just want to say that I think that a lot of people underestimate Johnny B. Bad. I know Mark Merrill gets a lot of shit, but like he really. When he first started in 91, he was just that ridiculous Little Richard ripoff. Like, I mean, I know he always kind of looked like that, but he was really playing that up in 91. But here he kind of let go of that a little bit. I mean, he still did I'm Pretty and all that stuff here, but he really actually started learning his craft. He actually became a pretty decent wrestler. They used Johnny B. Bad a lot during this era to open up pay-per-views and get the crowd going because he shot that goddamn confetti gun in the air, which people would have confetti on their back for the rest of the night. But,
always.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, for the next 3 hours, it would always go first and have glitter and big squares of stupid confetti on their back.
Yeah, like all throughout. Every time someone got dumped up, I'm like, well, they're coming up like a fucking pinata, and sure enough, they have like glitter and shit all over their back. But I thought overall, I thought it was an okay match to open up. There was nothing special about it. Diamond Dallas Page, it's so crazy that he broke into the sport so late. And this was obviously before he really figured himself out here. He was just trying to find his wrestling legs at this point. So it was okay. It was decent. It wasn't a great match, but it wasn't terrible. I give it a thumbs in the middle. I thought it was an okay opener. I think that the crowd was on their feet, which is the most important thing. Johnny B. Bad gets the win. That's what I think. Thumbs in the middle.
So Bad knocked DDP out of the ring with a Tutti Frutti.
He did at one point.
What is a Tutti?
It is his. It's his finisher. It's just a right hand knockout blow. But he hit him with it here, and then DDP fell out, and then I think he ended up beating him with the.
You've explained it. You've explained it enough to me. It's a thumb down just for that shit right there.
Oh, okay. It's being really nasty right now.
Middle.
What do you think about the match?
I'll go thumbs middle. Yeah.
Thumbs middle. It was fine. Dallas Page looked fine. He was 40 pounds heavier than what you're used to. He was a big boy then.
You see him now; he's in tremendous shape. You can't,
oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
DDP yoga is fucking real, bro.
It's sweeping the damn nation.
I'm ready to get back in the ring right now.
I think I'm too spoiled from the hot openers that we get nowadays. I felt like that when I was watching this. Like I think I'm just too spoiled.
Yeah, this was like I would say this was like a fine for a house show opener, but yeah, for a pay per view, it was all right. It wasn't. I mean, there was nothing on the line, but that's fine. I think all the ratings are appropriate. The next match is Lord Steven Regal. He is the WCW Television Champion here. Took on Brian Pillman to a time limit draw, 15 minutes for the W. Now they did this. God damn it! Look, I respect Lord Steven Regal, and I especially when he came to WWF, I really started enjoying him a lot more after the whole man's man thing. But I am going to be honest, as a fan back here, I fucking hated Lord Steven Regal. I thought he played a good character, but he was so boring to me.
Yeah.
And all of his matches would go to draws, all of them. And I couldn't stand it. It would make me nuts. There was a couple times here where him and Pillman in the beginning, they looked like they didn't know what they were doing with each other. They settled down. They're pros. I'm
Botched Frankensteiner from...
Yeah, there's just some things that they were doing in here. And like Regal is such a slow down and get him on the mat style that I just thought it was so boring like after the opener. And I hated this stint here with Regal as TV champion because they made him go to draws all the time. Or they would literally do it to where like it was the last minute and the ref would be, or the announcer would be counting down and he would like cheat or something real quick to win. It wasn't like, Craig? Yeah. What do you think? I think
I was going to say the exact same thing. I was like, the older I get, the more I appreciate Steven Regal. But back then, I just, it was fast forward. It was just everything was the same. He perspired a lot with 30 seconds in. He was just dripping sweat. I know. I always noticed that. And the scientific style, like I appreciate it now, and I really enjoyed it watching it back today. I did not used to enjoy those 15-minute long ass TV title matches and Lord Steven Regal matches.
Well, you can call Regal. You know, we're gonna have ahead of their time type storylines coming up, or podcast topics. You can argue he's ahead of his time there because, quite frankly, no one knew really how to work that way. I think if there was more of that, and you do see more technical wrestling now when they work together, it's quite entertaining. But when one person is not that, and Regal is, it just doesn't work. In my opinion.
I didn't.
I do like the forearms too. Like I love a good forearm to the back, like a nice snug forearm all to the chest and back. Those are cool, and I like seeing those. And I don't see those much anymore.
I did, and again, I don't disrespect either. I thought the work was fine for what they did in here, but I just give it a thumbs down because it was just boring to me. I found myself fast forwarding even now. I was like, oh god, here we go. Like this is just so like back to the ground on a face lock for an hour and a half. Like come on, like. But I don't know. That's just me.
I give it thumbs in the middle. I still appreciate it, even though I think once again it just you're so spoiled from today's action when you get a good when you get two good technical wrestlers nowadays, it's a little more hard hitting and faster paced. Which it's not. I don't think anything's wrong as far as with like the style that Regal was doing. It's just a lot of stretching and bending and twisting and holding. I mean, it's fine. That's appreciated.
I can respect all of it. I respect Regal's work. I respect all of that. And I could see, and I'm trying to get out of the middle, which is where you think you should be here. But I give it a thumbs down because there should never be a fucking draw in a pay-per-view. God damn it. There should never be a draw in a pay-per-view.
There is in UFC though. I mean, it's possible. It can happen.
What are we talking about?
What
are we talking about?
But in a sport where you control,
but not when it's happening
outcome,
all the time.
Yeah. In a sport where you can control the outcome, the reason why UFC has draws is because it's real and not fixed. Now, I'm not trying to start a different debate, so calm down on that. But I mean, in general, it's not fixed. It's a real sport. It's real combat. So it might go to a draw. Wrestling is predetermined. You do not have to book a draw. So that's
I would prefer where Pillman had the upper hand and Regal pinned him at 14:58 by cheating, by putting his feet on the ropes. That would be a better finish for me than a fucking draw.
I'm not defending it because he had a million draws, and this is just the only example. But I think on 83 weeks, Pillman had just signed his deal 2 days before, and I think Regal was going to go over. And then they decided to make it a draw because Pillman was looking like he was going to leave, and then I guess signed a new deal. So, but that doesn't excuse because there were 1,000 other ones before and after this.
And to your point,
shitty TV time remained in draws.
To your point, is this Regal's fault? Hell no. Is this Pillman's fault? I don't believe.
I'm not even defending the decision to book that specific draw. I'm just saying in general, like because you're saying that don't book a draw on a pay per view. Yeah. In general, maybe not. In general, though, it's possible and it could be pulled off.
And if Pillman was 2 days from signing his contract, put someone else in there. I mean, fuck. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're good.
So the next match is the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs.
Oh, here we go.
Defeated Cactus Jack and Max Payne in a Chicago street fight. 8 minutes and 54 seconds. So we just talked about this long ass draw. Like this match seemed like 20 hours in a good way to me. 8 minutes. Like it's so violent and I'm just like, oh, like every one I'm like, Foley's dead. Even going back and watching it now, and I watched it, it was still fantastic. This match is like,
oh my god,
just wonderful, just wonderful.
So here's the thing: shots. We were talking about this offline before we jumped on, and Jess said this match is every reason why Dave hates the Nasty Boys and why Jess loves the Nasty Boys. All in the same match, right?
Nasty.
They're so careless, like, but yet that's what makes them. That's what makes them beautiful. That's what makes them who they are. Like it's anyone in the locker room that like Foley could look at and be like, I need to try some shit on. Sags, Knobs, what are you doing? They're like, what do you want to do, Batman? Like they don't care. Like, so I think they just.
I seriously think they were the guys. They said like, yeah, whatever you want to do. That's what they would say. Whatever you want. Oh, you think it'll be good? Let's try it. Oh, you want to kill me with a dumpster? Yeah, that's fine. Just fucking whatever.
Sags didn't even close that properly fold the chair. 3 times he left the metal chair unclosed, so the end of the seat is hitting them right in the back. It's
right on their spine. Right on the spine.
What an asshole!
Right on their spine.
You're just an asshole.
At least I would say Knobs tried a little bit sometimes. I think Knobs a little bit more, if you could call either one of them more of the polished wrestler. I think Knobs was like a little bit more polished, but oh my god, make it stop. But Cactus Jack here, if you don't know the difference between a New Jack hardcore match or a Mick Foley hardcore match, you don't understand wrestling at all. Mick Foley
I
is a
agree with that
genius. Like,
completely, yeah.
even when I go back here and watch Mick Foley, I'm like, he was
Oh
so
my
good.
God.
Everything he did was safe. His first thing was, I want to take care of the other guy. He always had that on his mind. You could tell when he was hitting, I think, Sags with the pull cue, you totally saw him make sure his fist hit
him with his
Sags
fist,
right on the neck and shoulder instead of the pull cue. When they would return the favor, they didn't give a fuck. They would hit Foley right in the face.
whacking him with it.
And if Foley didn't roll with it, he would get knocked out legitly. Like, it was crazy. Like,
I think that's
the shovel
before I get
shot.
all the
Oh my
scores too,
God.
that towards the end, Mick Foley suplexing a goddamn table onto one of the Nasty Boys was fucking insane. Like, it was insane.
And the table
like,
breaking when they were on it.
Yeah, they were on it. Like, it
That's
didn't
great.
even, they
And then
didn't
he
even break
fell
it, it didn't move.
off the ramp and hit the concrete fucking hard as fuck. And
Yeah,
then
his
got
back
hit in the
bump.
face with the shovel. Oh my
And
God.
the ending with it, nobody could see the shovel shot, which I
Oh
think
my
what
God.
pissed me off more than anything is total WCW. Instead of them doing it on the rampway, where it would make a loud noise and everyone in the arena would see it, they did it on like that little pit that, on the side of the ramp and the guardrail where the fans
Between
are,
the guardrail,
which is like a 3-foot drop or
'Cause it was a raised
3.5 foot
ramp.
drop. And nobody could see it. Just the 4 fans that were right there on the guardrail saw
It was brutal.
that fucking brutal shovel shot to the head, which I saw how he did it. I saw where he hit the concrete, but still, just the vibration and the fact that the shovel like clasped you in the side of the head, unbelievable. Like,
It was great.
that Foley would do stuff like that.
There's a reason why those
even
guys don't walk right.
Oh yeah.
The fall off the ramp to the
Yeah, that's
concrete
the
was
one.
in the background. It wasn't even like set up properly to where it was the main focus of the shot. It was like the foreground, they were fighting on the ramp, and then it's like, oh look, McFoley just paralyzed himself. That's neat.
Yeah.
It's like, take care and set that
It's
shot
like,
up to where
the
it's
match
the
itself
best of the
was,
match.
Yeah, the match was awesome, but I have so many production. That's a perfect point. The shovel, the falling off in the background, which should have been the focal point of the shot. I have production issues with this match. And then when they did a split screen, can you tell me why 90% of the screen was that fucking stupid Spring Stampede wooden background? And they had 2 small fucking squares to track
I know,
the
that
action?
was stupid.
Like, what? Just split it in half and put a little Spring
Yes.
Stampede logo. We
Like
all know
play
what
Mario
we're
Kart.
watching. Like, I'm not going to be like,
All
did someone
right.
change the channel?
All
I don't
right.
know. Oh, okay. They put the Spring. Thank God they put the logo up there because I forgot we were watching Spring. Like, come on. Like, it's so ridiculous. So we're both trying. I'm squinting even with the 60-inch television, going like, what the fuck? Like, why? Like, why do they have to this massive logo? It makes no
Nasty.
sense. Like, but it's obviously a thumbs up. But I mean, I'm sure everyone here is.
Yeah,
gonna say it.
it's a thumbs up. I mean, Cactus Jack was the guy that would take care of everyone, but said lay into me every time, and that's why we love him. It's tough to watch sometimes, but I maybe some part of Cactus Jack was like, I'm so good to my people, maybe they'll take care of me, and I feel like nobody took care of him.
Did not happen for him.
So, like, did anybody take care of Cactus like ever?
I mean,
No, and even
Yeah.
like there's a table spot with Sags, not the suplex over the
Nasty.
table, but like he keeps banging him in the head. Sags lifts the table over his head and is him bang.
Oh, yes,
bang, bang.
yes.
But before that, he's hitting him with like the posts of the table to where he's not safe at all and hitting him in the eye with it and his top of it's his head. It's
So much
ridiculous.
violence for our entertainment.
And Max Payne was in it too, apparently.
Nothing more can be proven, Tony. I want to see how long they can go. Oh God! I tell you, if the Cubs can hit like that, they'd be in first place. It's over. It's over. Ring the bell. I've seen enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of the Falls Count Anywhere match, the World Tag Team Champions.
Yeah, him and like knobs went off in the concession stands for a while. This horrible fake concession stand that like, fucking nobody got. I've never seen a concession stand in the middle of the crowd. Like,
I bet the nachos were delicious.
yeah, like then him fumble fucking with Sags on the fucking table. He couldn't even slam in through it right. Like, yeah, I was like
Did you say fumble fucking?
fumble fucking.
That, you know what? That's going to be a new topic next week. Fumble fucking.
So this was
As always, you can reach us on Instagram.
this was great. If anything, I mean, there's a few matches on this card you should go back and watch, but this match is a classic to me. This is fantastic. This match was awesome.
In my opinion, it's always a classic when Cactus is involved. When Mick's involved, yeah,
Yes.
fantastic.
Especially against
So-
Edge, huh?
All day long.
The next match is Stunning Steve Austin defending the United States Championship against the Great Muta. 16
Great
minutes,
Austin.
20 seconds. It ended with a shit disqualification because
That
WCW
was
still
dope.
had their head up their ass at this point, and if you throw someone over the top rope, you get
Yeah.
disqualified.
Yeah, it was
I've
retarded.
always hated that rule, and WCW lived by it for so long, and then they finally did away with it. I don't remember what year.
here, Great Buddha.
But yeah,
That's my young Stone Cold voice.
16
Get outta
minutes
here.
was a bit too long for me. I can't believe I'm saying this about these two. I'm going to give it a thumbs in the middle because like I just expected
It was kind of
more.
long drawn.
I expected more. It was long. Muta started to heat up towards the end when he did the Hurricane Rana off the top rope, and then you know, he did the spin kick on Robert Parker. People really wanted to get behind Muta, and I think they were waiting for the Muta that we saw in 89 and 90. You know, super explosive, but Muta was working a slower pace. You could definitely tell that Austin was a great worker. I mean, I watched them really closely. Because I remember being let down by this match when I first saw it. But when I rewatched it, I watched them. You know, I watched them communicate with each other. Austin did a beautiful job of trying to read Muta. Muta did the same thing. It might have been a bit of a language barrier, but Muta's such a pro. I don't think it was that bad. But I'm not saying their styles didn't even mesh. It was just, it wasn't booked to be anything special.
It's the finish.
Yeah.
When you think about it now, that's the amount of talent that's in this moment. You're like, oh my God, what a waste.
And I didn't see one missed. Come on. Like, Jesus Christ.
You go 16 minutes and then you did disqualify by throwing someone on the top rope. I'd completely forgotten it, and I literally went, no.
Yeah.
When that
and
happened,
then also, because you know, they had the thankless task.
You know what they are now, and you're like, you expect more.
Yeah. And they also had the thankless task of following that tag match, which that's not going to be easy on anybody.
Yeah. Okay.
But then it's to Jess's point about the language barrier, when I was looking at this, I said, knowing that we know Steve Austin always called it in the ring because he couldn't hear very well, and Muta didn't speak English very well or could, I was always amazed how, unless they'd wrestled a lot, I didn't know if this was the first time they'd like touched each other or wrestled at all, but I was kind of stunned with how they put together 16 minutes and knew kind of how to do it with my limited knowledge of how that stuff all works and putting it together. But those kind of things together, but knowing that he didn't hear very well in the language barrier. I mean, but yeah, 16 minutes was too long.
I'll give it a thumbs middle. I
appreciate this for what it was.
Yeah, thumbs in the middle.
Cuz, what do you think, Cuz?
Oh, yeah. Thumbs in the middle. I like Stone Cold. I like even the the psychology. You know, like when you watch a UFC or a boxing fight and there are two respected strikers and they're totally not striking on each other. I like how Steve Austin, Stunning Steve, was kind of doing that, in that even though Muta would be looking at Colonel Parker, waiting for him to freaking do something or try to pull something, Steve Austin was like, I'm going to attack him. No, I'm not going to attack him. I'm going to attack. He's like all hesitant, like kind of telling that psychology right there too. Little things like that I was looking at. But
he rolls out the ring at one point and says, he has me completely flummoxed.
That's right.
It's very funny.
Muta escaped the head scissors, and that prompted the U.S. champ to take a powder. He's got me completely flustered.
But I appreciate those stuff like that.
So and a side note too, I thought a very notable comment here, Bobby Heenan on commentary. And of course it makes total sense after he said it, but Bobby Heenan said, I'm really excited to see the great Muta here tonight. I've never seen him live.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Like, and well, you got to think, he was with the AWA long before Muta's time. Then he goes right to WWF. And then he came over to WCW. Why would he have seen the Muta live? But
he never would have seen him.
It's crazy to hear him say that in 1994. Like, I've never seen him live. And I was like, wow, like, you're right, you haven't. Like, oh my God. I just thought it was really notable.
It was
Huh.
It
was
nice.
The next match is Sting defeating Ravishing Rick Rude for the WCW International Heavyweight Championship in 12 minutes, 50 seconds. So let me say, this match is great because all the good stuff was wonderful and all the bad stuff was wonderfully bad. First of all, Sting and Rude, I don't, even after that tag match, even though it was one match removed after the tag match, the crowd was so fucking on fire for Sting. It's ridiculous. I mean, obviously, duh, right? We know Sting's a legend, but for anyone who says Sting is overrated, you're ridiculous. Like, he can adapt to any style. And I'm not shitting on Rude. We all know what I think about Rude, and I think we all think the same thing. But like, Sting is so good, and so is Rude. Rude just being an asshole. And I love that WCW let him be a little more than a chicken shit heel in WCW. He could get in there, do some pretty brutal offense to people, and you were scared of him a little bit, even though he still would be a chicken shit heel when he needed to. But their chemistry was awesome here. Like, they always were good together, I think. And I think this was probably the lesser of all their other matches. And I don't mean that to be bad, because I actually give this match a thumbs up because of the crowd involvement with Sting. And just at one point, Rude got backdropped so high, he fucking kneed himself in the face. I don't even know like what to say. Like, when I see stuff like that, I'm like, these guys they're in it. They're just fucking professional wrestlers, and they're in character, and they're trying to push the storyline over. They're doing what they need to do. Like, it was pretty awesome. I'll get all your guys' comments too, because I know you guys saw some of the fuck ups too, especially the goddamn ending, goddamn Harley Race. But what do you think about the match, Dave?
Vader's got a chair too. This is not musical chairs. He hit Rude. Think of us. No. We got a new champion. The winner, a new international world heavyweight champion.
I think, the thing about Sting, I think it's just, I feel like I'm going to just shadow everything you're talking about, but I've never seen a match where Sting wasn't over. I've never seen a match where Sting wasn't able to adapt. I mean, when you think about who Sting has wrestled over the years, Rude is definitely something where it probably sounds like a night off, but Sting's had to wrestle Flair. That's no easy feat because, you're expected to do a lot. Sting's had to wrestle Vader. And then Sting even wrestled Triple H, right? I mean, through the years, Sting is more malleable than I think anybody ever dares to believe. We always say that about Rude. Rude is a technician. Rude is that worker. He's always been that guy. He'll work with anybody because he controls the match. Sting, while he could control a match, doesn't necessarily do that because he's always the face. As far as I remember, I can't remember him not being a face. And he makes it work with no matter who he's working with. I mean, just for that alone, you look at the, I know you're talking about Race accidentally hitting Rude with a steel chair in the back. I mean, just God, and then
just everything, even Harley Race at the beginning of the match, Vader challenges the winner. Yes. I felt like he was drunk, and I was like, he's not gonna. Oh, he pulled it off. How the fuck did he pull it off? Like, I was like, waiting for him
that part.
Not to mention the fact, like, is Vader gonna wrestle Rude? I don't fucking think so. So no, you know what's gonna happen. Yeah. So that fucks that off too. But in spite of all that, it's still a thumbs up because Sting and Rude are fucking money because it's Sting and Rude, man. Like, what do you got to say?
What do you think, Cuz?
Yeah, sorry, Cuz. Thumbs up. Who wants to go?
Go ahead, Cuz.
I said I was gonna give it a thumbs up, even though I did start. This is the match I started dozing off because I'm a tired guy right now. But that beginning when Harley Race came out, I don't know why it kind of reminded me of like anytime Paul Heyman would come out randomly without Brock Lesnar, but you'd be like, oh fuck, what's he gonna say? Is Brock gonna be coming out here? Who's he gonna challenge? Whatever. It kind of gave me that vibe because you knew what kind of a beast Vader was. So it kind of made it more intriguing, and it was like, oh man, who's Vader gonna fucking take on after this? Obviously, you knew it was gonna be Sting, but just Harley Race, it gave me that vibe. It kind of reminded me of Paul Heyman coming out, and you were like, what the fuck? What the fuck's Brock gonna do? So just that in the beginning, and then of course these two guys clashing, Sting and fucking Rude. What can you say about them other than what we've already been saying and what we've said in past episodes about them? So definitely thumbs up.
That's huge. So funny. I never thought about that, but Harley Race is like a drunk old Paul Heyman. And that's really, really funny.
He's just wandering out there like, I want to issue a challenge for Vader. Like, and I was like, please pull it through, don't flub. And he did fine, but I don't know why it was, especially around this time. I'm like, I don't know about Race. I don't know if he's gonna like fuck up his words or what. Like, I was like, and then
so he's all the 2G at this time.
Just because of that, I want to see Paul Heyman come out drunk and try to advocate for Brock Lesnar. I want to see it now.
I'm sure he'd still hit it out of the park.
The match was good, but I actually agree with Cuz. When I was watching it back, this was the first match that I started to fade a little bit and fast forward. So I don't know what that says about my attention span. But I'll give it thumbs in the middle. And then after this, they had a little pull apart in the locker room between Rude and Vader, and you can see Sags in a towel after the shower, and he's trying to keep his towel on.
But he's so big.
That's a little Easter egg for you guys.
I'm sure it's a small towel, right? It's like a hotel towel, and it's like
it looks like a proper bath towel, but like it's almost like it's a rib because he's just holding on his towel as he's part of 6 other people trying to pull apart Rude and Vader, and you're about to see some of his nasty boys. It's very funny.
And the ending, though, was I understand what the ending was supposed to be, but goddamn Harley Race again. Like, he always missed his cues. Always. I don't think there was ever a where I was like, there you go. Even Vader and Flair, he almost missed that cue. So the whole thing was like, he was supposed to, like, he runs down there. Sting starts beating the shit out of him. Vader runs down there. Sting beats Vader up. So they're trying to help Rude for I guess they wanted to face Rude. So like they come down there and they try to help Rude. And then like Sting throws, no, actually he doesn't even throw him. Vader comes in, Sting hits him with the right hand. It had been like 60 seconds since he got hit with Sting's last right hand and was still reeling and selling it. Sting looked at him and then he just falls out through the middle rope. And I laughed so hard because nobody touched him. Race just fell out on his own. And I laughed so hard. So now it's weird because Vader goes on the outside. Vader is sitting, selling on his knees, holding a steel chair in his hands while Nick Patrick is yelling at him like, you better not interfere. This is blah, blah, because Nick Patrick was like the president or whatever on screen. So on the other side, Race gets up like he doesn't know where he is. You see Rude look at him like we're going home. He is supposed to put Sting into the Rude Awakening, like, where Rude turns them around and they both have their backs to each other. And then Race is supposed to come in and swing the chair to hit Sting in the face. And then Rude was going to drop the Rude Awakening and beat him. That was their plan. What ends up happening, of course, is Sting ducks and Race hits Rude in the back of the neck. Now, Race takes forever. You see him on the outside like, oh, there's a fucking chair. Where's a chair? He can't find a chair, so I'm belly laughing at this point. Like, because I'm like, oh my God. So he goes out of the screen and then he comes back and you see Rude keep trying to set Sting up like in it. And then he slowly turns him over and just stands there and waits. And then at the very least, you're like, well, this chair shot better pay off. Nope. It's like Race hitting with a marshmallow, but the crowd still popped huge. They just love Sting, and like Sting got a massive ovation when he won. But I laughed so hard because I know Race wanted to pull the chair shot because he didn't want to hurt Rude, which is awesome that he did that, right? Like, and everyone knows that Rude had neck and back issues even leading up to this. So like, I'm glad that Race pulled the chair, but it was just so WCW. It made me laugh so hard. It was bad, but it was so good. Like I was almost tears were coming out of my eyes because I'm watching him on the outside of the ring. Like, what am I doing? Like he didn't know where he was. Like, oh, the fucking
How
chair.
many times do we have to say it was so WCW?
Oh man, it was.
We say it all the time.
It was so terrible.
WCW
Wrestling company.
But this next match was surprisingly good. Bunkhouse Buck defeated Dustin Rhodes in a bunkhouse match. Jesus, these guys like I thought they did really well together. Like Dustin obviously always was talented. I think we even thought that back here when he was just the natural, but he was bleeding like a pig too here. Like this was just a really good match. It was a really cool fight. Dustin, I think what month was this? He'd still be with the company for another year at this point. But yeah, like they. This is one of those feuds that I like to see Dustin in because he's not in there with like a Rude or a Sting or somebody else. I'm not saying that's bad. He knows how to work with them, but he's in there with Bunkhouse Buck, who was an accomplished professional. Don't get me wrong, but it was cool to see Dustin kind of hold his own in here with someone that wasn't like a megastar. It just showed that Dustin had a lot of spark and he was going to be good and you knew it. And I thought I'd give this match a thumbs up. It went 14 minutes, but there was some parts I could probably do without but they did really well together. I thought they told a good story. What do you think, David?
How does Bunkhouse get his own match title? It's a bunkhouse match with Bunkhouse Buck.
Well, you want to beat me at my own game, Dave? That's the only way you're going to prove to me that you're a man. I don't know that that's true, but I'm just assuming. If I was, that sounds right. If I was Bunkhouse Buck, that would be my logic.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a thumbs middle only because of the talent involved. I think you put anybody in there with Dustin or Goldust later on. I think you put the right talent in, you're going to find a lot more thumbs up than you would. I think Dustin does what he does. He makes everything good. And if you put the right people in, it can make it. I just don't think it was great. And you got to understand too, Dustin's dealing with a lot of stuff here. He's dealing with, family, the family stuff. He doesn't want to be that guy who feels like he's getting a pass because his old man's around, right? I believe Dusty's still here at this point, booking and everything else. Is he not?
I think so.
So, when you look at all that and everything he has to deal with, it's quite spectacular what he did and what he was able to do. But I'll give it a thumbs middle, only because it's just, come on, it's Bunkhouse. What are you doing?
Cuz, what do you think?
This is going to be my no contest because this is the one where I died.
You were out after this?
Yeah, that. I mean, I was kind of dozing it on and off, and then I got up and I just started doing other stuff.
Good Lord.
I love Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
What did you do, Cuz?
You could have been like
we should clarify.
I came in here to get the fucking computer set up.
We should clarify that Cuz works nights and he came to watch us in the afternoon. It probably wasn't the easiest thing to do. We'll give him a pass.
After running errands in the apocalyptic world and fixing some shit in the garage.
I like this match very much. The only issue I have with it, first of all, I thought it was very cool to see Dustin in the pre-match dressed up like his dad, like Bunkhouse Buck. He was wearing a big Texas t-shirt, kind of looked like his dad, and had a promo that wasn't Goldust, and I'd forgotten kind of the natural era. And so I thought it was very cool. My only issue is he bled early like a stuck pig. And then I didn't know whether they had a no blood rule or what was going on. Well, obviously they didn't, because everyone in this whole card kind of bled, sometimes hard way.
But Dustin, I think you're right. I think Dustin did it, the blade style. I'm probably, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. And then they do not show it. They spend a good 5 minutes before you get a good upfront shot of it. It's almost like they shot around it. And there was even a scene where a camera was in front of them. They wouldn't cut to it. So I didn't know whether it was too graphic for them or what the deal was, but you couldn't see what he was doing, and then they hesitated to show a front shot of the blade job.
Just sounds like WCW.
Right. But Bunkhouse then bleeds also, and they laid into each other for sure. And a thumbs up. Maybe a little long, but it was good.
Yeah. The next match is Vader with Drunk Harley Race, defeating the Boss, which everybody knows is the Big Boss Man, in 9 minutes and 2 seconds. Let me just start out by saying that, yes, there was a lot of missed spots in this match. However, Ray Traylor was so fucking talented, and so was Vader. They like pushed through it. That's all I remember feeling rewatching this, was like, they're just pushing through this motherfucker. I don't know if they felt the pressure of the goodness that had kind of come prior to this match in the card, but Vader got his eye busted open the hard way at one point, I think towards the end of the match. And, but they were not going to accept, okay, we missed that spot, fucking whatever, we're pushing through. Ray Traylor did some sloppy shit towards the end, but, fucking Vader, like just being Vader in general, but watching the way that the Boss, or Big Boss Man, however you want to call him, the way he knew how to work with Vader, that's how talented he was. He really was good for a big man. And that fucking moonsault was dead on. Might have been the only time that Vader didn't like over rotate or something like that, like he just nailed it. And I was like, oh my God, like I just yelled out loud when I saw it. I was like, I was not expecting a dead on moonsault. That was insanity. And you did even see Vader trying to land on his knees to not kill the Boss Man on that landing too. So these guys, like, they understood that they were going to get really banged up. And Vader, I don't remember what shot, maybe somebody on here noticed, I don't know what shot broke him open, but Vader was bleeding like a fucker from his eye. Like, it was really bad.
How's it feel, boss? You're not beating up no 100-pound punk now in jail. Around 2 o'clock in the morning, you're in there with a man. Look at this.
He's going for it all. The moonsault.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
the winner of the grudge match is Vader.
They were snug the entire time, and in fact, the whole card seemed super stiff. Like like every match almost like laid into each other. There was a point when Vader no-sold a Boss Man thumb to the eye, and I was like, "You're not going to sell that at all?" Like he just thumbed you in the eye to slow you down a little bit. But then they were hitting each other right in the face. So who knows when his eye got kind of popped open? But it was probably just from a Boss Man punch, or maybe it was that thumb that he no-sold. But like,
not the first time Vader's eye will be popped open either. I mean, let's be real. Like, I don't even. Good gravy.
Oh, Vader Stan Hansen.
Yeah.
Was it the same eye?
It was. I don't know if it was the same eye.
I don't know if it was. I mean, I don't know. Vader's ridiculous in so many positive ways, and like, oh my God, how did that even happen? But according to what I'm reading here, after the match, Harley Race tried to handcuff Boss, but Boss attacks Vader, wasting the Vepri with a nice stick, and it leads Commissioner Bockwinkel to take away his name, Boss, because that is just not the way a boss is supposed to act. So for that reason alone, I'm entitled to give it a thumbs down, but I won't do that. I'll give it a thumbs up. These are two big men working hard, and I love it when that happens, man. Big men working hard and making it entertaining. It could be a lot of fun if it's done right, and even if you miss spots, as some would say, it's meant to happen. And I'm a closet Boss Man fan. That's good for me. And Vader's unbelievable, but I'll give it a thumbs up. It's fine. But that horse shit afterwards, that's just ridiculous.
Because
I'd rather forget about it.
Because do you just want to give talk about Vader and the Boss as individuals? Because I know you didn't see this match. You were doing other things.
No, I was gonna say just like the beginning. Well, kind of the beginning, not really the beginning, but when they were fighting on the ramp, when Vader, when he just scooped up Boss Man and fucking just like flung him down onto the mat and then did his fucking dive over it. I don't know if you. Sorry, because when you guys first started talking about it, I went to grab a beer, so I don't know if you guys already talked about that part.
No, we didn't. You're good. Go.
So just little
Jesus
things
Christ.
like that, and then fucking getting thrown over the rail and everything. What the fuck's so funny?
Just go.
You have total freedom.
You're on a roll, for fuck's sakes. God.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just went to grab a beer. You guys, I just want to make sure you guys didn't talk about it already.
No, you're good. You were like, right on it, bro. You were like hitting a hot spot. It was great, and you fucked it all up. So keep
Sorry
going.
about that. Yeah, but I give it a thumbs up, I guess.
Sorry.
And the match almost ended early because when Vader did that spot and kind of
Almost broke his
dive
neck.
over the top rope, he lands right on Boss Man's knee, who gets up limping. And I was like, oh, great. 30 seconds in, and he just killed Boss Man's knee. But yet, to Dave, to your point, that was horseshit. That they stripped his baton and his handcuffs backstage. Bockwinkel did in a locker room kind of vignette, and it was the dumbest thing ever. I guess it was to set up Guardian Angel, or was Guardian Angel?
It was to set up Guardian Angel. You're 100% correct.
So it's
Yeah, they
totally
couldn't have
worth
saved that angle. So yeah, like they couldn't have saved that angle for WCW Saturday Night. They had to do it on the pay-per-view. Like Bossman, we need to have the segment where we strip you down, and we
had to, gotta take the boss
You
down
can't wait
away.
till next week on the pay-per-view. You have to do it.
And Regal's going to go to a draw on a paper.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. Makes sense.
If that made you mad, the draw, Dave, Ric Flair defended the WCW Heavyweight Championship in the main event against Ricky Dragon Steamboat to a fucking double pin. This ending made me so mad, and once again I knew it was coming, and I was like, "This is fucking hot garbage." Like they did it. Well, this goes back to my original statement, was this was Bischoff handprints, right? When the Monday Night Wars started going hot and heavy, they would make cliffhangers on their pay-per-views so you would watch their free Monday night program. That became the way of the world, and it's kind of like that now. It is.
It was all about ratings, bro.
Yeah, because networks started giving them more money to have their show, so it all changed. I understand why it went that way, but Bischoff was the first guy to really push it, because this double pin, like they ended up rematching on WCW Saturday Night like 2 weeks later, and Flair wins the title back. And I'm like, God, he already has all these asterisks on his name, of like title changes that didn't count, or things. Why do you need to do more of this stuff with Flair? And why it doesn't make the title more important to me by seeing a double pin? It was ridiculous. Like, first of all, the match to me obviously was probably the worst out of their series, and I don't mean that in a bad way. They both worked really hard in there, and I really enjoyed watching their chemistry.
And they worked a lot, Jess. They worked a lot together.
They worked a lot together. They did really well. Even this match, I love watching their chemistry. I love watching Steamboat. I mean, say what can you say about Flair, right? But Rick Steamboat is so good. He really is. He's a great wrestler, and he understands movement. And you watch him read Flair's movement the whole time. And these guys were aging here at this point, right? I want to say they're both in their 40s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and it's 5 years after their '89 series, so it's quite a while. It's half a
and
decade
they went
after
and they went
peaked.
32 minutes, by the way, and to end it in a double pin and make me angry. And like it just, I don't know why. Again, I know why they did it. They did it to sell the Saturday night shit.
It's WCW.
I guess, but I guess I know exactly where Dave's frustration is coming from the Regal draws. It's like, why? Like, why do it like this? Like, it doesn't even make any sense to me. Like that.
But to your point, how was the match? The work is solid. No, I mean, let's be real about it.
I thought the match was solid. I give it a thumbs in the middle just because I think of their old series, and I know that's not fair for me to do. I don't think they drugged the card down. I give them a thumbs in the middle. I thought their work was fine, but they did fine work for two 40-year-olds, basically.
Jess, if you had a legitimate victory either way, would you have given it a thumbs up, or is it the only reason why?
That's a very good question, and I think that if Steamboat would have won it here, I would give the match a thumbs up, and then Flair could have won it back 2 weeks later in WCW Saturday Night. If you're going to do it anyway,
it would have been fine, right?
Yeah, I don't see the problem with it. I don't like.
I think that's something that the entertainment universe now has come to realize, that no, you have to have a real winner, especially in a pay-per-view. There needs to be. I can't think of a draw in years in WWE when it comes to the network. On a pay-per-view. I can't think of one. Can you?
Not really, no.
You just don't have someone pay $29.99 and then tease them and have Bachman come in and then we'll settle this on Saturday for free.
Right. I know that's the way the industry changed, and like I said, this was the evidence of it. Bischoff is actually one of the first people to start pushing it like that, and good for good or bad. But like I'm like God, like yeah, I thought the same thing. So why would you do that? Less people watch your pay-per-views. Let's be honest. Than their free show on Saturday night. I think WCW Saturday Night was getting like a 3.2 million households were watching the show. Spring Stampede, without even me scrolling around, 400,000 buys. I mean, I'm honestly 500,000 buys, maybe. That's to me. Why would you do it the other way around? You get all the eyes that are watching for free. You hook them, and then you say, "You want to see the ending? Give me some dough." And okay, and they do that. That's the way it's always worked. So it was just odd to me to watch it like and go. This was the beginning, wasn't it? This was the beginning of Bischoff starting to be like, I want ratings to go higher, so I get more advertising dollars, which again is not stupid. It was for a storyline, it doesn't make sense, right? Like the way pro wrestling.
This is what's even crazier. So here's the aftermath, right, Jess? So Flair initially retains the title, but Steamboat also claims the right to be champion due to having pinned Flair, which leads Bachman to vacate the title on the April 30th episode of Saturday Night due to the controversial ending of the title match at Spring Stampede. Bachman schedules a rematch between the two for May 14th of Saturday Night, which Flair actually gets the payoff and wins. What the hell? Like, you couldn't have done that on a Saturday night and booked it, to your point, right? To the pay-per-view where you're going to have a definitive winner and everyone goes home happy. I feel like you get more than 400,000
that's even a
buys,
better point. Maybe 2 weeks before a month before the pay-per-view, they have that kind of match. And then the pay-per-view that's a very good point. Why? I don't know why. I can't answer your question, Dave. To answer your question, I can't answer your question.
Because WCW.
Because were you waiting for this or what?
I'm sorry.
Did you watch this?
I didn't watch it tonight. I watched it before, so I have to give it a no contest because we're reviewing if you watch it tonight, and I didn't watch it tonight, so you're not getting a review from me.
Sweet
no
Lord.
contest.
Craig, help me. God help me.
He died.
What did you think, Craig?
Oh, there you
Steamboat pushes Nick Bockwinkel at the end of the match too, when Bockwinkel tries to pull his bull crap. So I like the little fire in Steamboat in this match too. Super aggressive, but it was good. I also agreed 5 years later, least favorite of kind of their series, but anytime it's Flair and Steamboat. It was good.
Yeah, like at the beginning, they treated it cool with Michael Buffer and the way they, did the whole introductions. And Flair is Flair, right? He just gives off this aura about himself. That's pretty cool. And they were both kind of faces, if I'm not mistaken. So, of course, Flair kind of takes the heel role because he's natural at that. So I think that's why I also had a problem with it, too, was the dynamic of both them being heels. It's too easy for Flair to go, the dynamic of both them being faces. It's too easy, I think, for Flair to just go back to heel. And that's the way he started working at one point. So it's like, what are you trying to tell us coming into this? Like, you got to keep them both faces if you're going to do that. If not, then yeah, like Dave said, have something different in mind, or don't lead us out and then be like, a draw? Awesome. You're having a reserve. Great.
The double chicken wing. He's got him down. 1, 2, 3.
We got a new champion. Ricky Steamboat is the new heavyweight champion of the world. Oh my goodness.
Wait a minute. Randy Anderson. It's Steamboat. Steamboat's hands in the air.
Wait a minute, maybe somebody had their foot on the ropes.
It was so bad that you forgot to mention Pat Tanaka and Page with defeated the Soldiers.
That was a dark match, Dave. Nobody cares about them unless your name is Danny Bonaducci. So overall, I thought this was a very fun show overall. What did you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. I think, the Cactus Jack stuff, who can't watch Flair and Steamboat? I mean, if you can't enjoy that, you're not a wrestling fan. Sorry. Yeah, good stuff. Sting and Rude. There's a lot of talent here. A lot of great stuff. So,
random question from
I will
that.
watch it again.
Did you see the guy in the front row that was looked like he was talking to a little tape recorder? Was that a known wrestling journalist?
I don't know, but I used to see that a lot.
Yeah,
especially on WCW cards more than anything. I never saw on WWF.
No, I never
there was
did either.
Halloween Havoc 1990 was another one where after the end of Sid and Sting, a guy noticeably is standing in the front row, like talking into a tape recorder. So I didn't recognize that person, but I did notice that. And that was common, I guess.
Remember he was trying to talk to Great Muta when Great Muta was outside of the ring. He was hunched over by the rail when I think Stone Cold
trying to give him a microphone.
You could tell he was like trying to ask him something. Muta looked at him for a second and then looked back.
And missed him. He should have missed him.
That would have been great.
You're lucky Muta didn't kick the shit out of you.
Yeah. Great show. Great show.
I was afraid to approach the Great Muta in person, and he was so nice. So nice.
I low-key wanted
awesome.
I wanted him to miss me. I don't know why. Like, just do it.
This card was hard
hitting.
hitting. About it. This card was like a wrestling purist kind of like dream card. And if you look at it just on paper, Sting and Rick Rude and Muta and Austin and Cactus, even like Regal and Pillman and Vader and the Boss and Flair
Bonaducci and Knight.
Paper,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's so much crap in WCW and so many bad pay-per-views. But if you don't like Flash, but you love just great wrestling, some really solid brawls and beating the snot out of each other, this is the best that they kind of had to offer in probably in 94, 93, or early 94, 93.
Yeah, and this was one of the pay-per-views. When Bischoff first started, I think Super Brawl 3 was the first one. And critics were like, this is one of WCW's better pay-per-views ever. They feel the same way about Spring Stampede 94, that it's one of WCW's best offerings they ever had on pay-per-view. And watching it back in 2020, watching a 1994 card, like, I was like, overall, I was like, this is cool. Like, this is really good.
Yeah.
Like, but so there it is, Dave. Another pay-per-view
hit us up on
in the books.
Hit us up on Instagram at O.W.P 2019. Click on Linktree, and you can find us on several platforms, including Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. This is Dave, Jess, Cuz, and Craig with the O.W.P signing off. Have a good one.